Welcome to Woodworker and Wife. We're Dan and Bethany Myers. We have been married for over 5 years and have 3 little girls. Are we marriage experts, parenting experts, life experts? Perfect in every way? Not even close, but we do happen to have a microphone and, more importantly, want to share what God has done and is currently doing in our lives in order to encourage you.
Each week we'll cover a topic related to faith, family, marriage, or business, with the hope that our conversations will encourage you in your day-to-day life. This week we're launching our podcast and we'll be sharing the impetus for it and what we hope to achieve with it. Let's get started. I'm Dan, and this is my lovely wife Bethany, and we are Woodworker and Wife. This is I'd say our first podcast, but not really. We attempted to do a podcast with similar goals last fall, and life happened.
Yeah, lots of life happened, including moving, getting pregnant, and having a baby, which is my good intro for if I have to get up at some point, it's because I'm taking care of her. She seems to not want to fall asleep tonight. But beyond that, we started this once. This is our starting over, but better.
We think so. It's a lot more planned out and ideas for episodes, and I think our mission and our goal is a lot more concrete.
And I think we're in a lot better position to be talking about life. We're not surviving day to day. We're more towards thriving, I would say.
It feels like surviving some days.
Yes, yeah, it does. But that's just where we're at in life with, 3 small children, a newer business, and,
Just, yep.
Just those 2 things.
Just those things.
By themselves is a lot to do. A lot. So anyway, we wanted to start this podcast. Why, sweetie?
The short answer, because God told us to.
Yeah, it seemed to be cropping up in our lives more and more often. People would be like, what are you doing to further the kingdom or to...
Having babies.
Besides that. But what are we, doing creatively for the cause of Christ? And this seemed to pop up.
It did.
In both our lives.
Yeah, and we listen to a lot of podcasts. You Beth struggle with timing to listen to podcasts because 3 small children.
And it's summer, so I'm not driving any far distances currently with the girls. Whereas during the school year, I go to MOPS and I go to Bible study so I can listen while I drive.
Yeah. I, on the other hand, put on over 100 miles since I put gas in the truck yesterday. I've done 100 miles just driving all around the county.
Sheesh.
From one job to the other to my shop. And
I haven't driven in a couple of days.
Yeah, that's another fun comparison we'll have later about we got our vehicles about the same time, and I have 3 times the mileage.
Thousands of miles.
Yeah.
I've done hundreds. Anyway.
Yeah. But needless to say, I get a lot of time to listen to podcasts or music, and whether I'm driving in the truck or I'm at a job, I have headphones on or not, or in the shop, and it allows for learning opportunities depending on the topic and what the podcast is. And lately we've been listening to a lot of marriage podcasts that are kingdom focused.
Yes. And
a lot of good wisdom coming out of that. And some of it is, oh, hey, we're going to talk about that, or, oh, I hadn't thought about that. And allows us to just connect with each other and have those conversations.
Yeah. I've been struggling finding a mom podcast. It seems like a lot of them get started and have no new episodes recently, which I totally understand as far as picking up something new to do and not having time to continue on with it. So if you know of any good one, please hit me up with that. I would love to have some good suggestions as far as like momspiration.
Hashtag.
Corn. Okay.
Yeah. So in a minute, we're going to, really introduce ourselves to you and just go from there. So before that, I've got an idea in my head, and that is for you, Beth. I call her Beth, Bethany, Bethy, so you'll hear it all interchangeably. But for you, who would you say is our primary demographic that we're trying to reach?
Definitely married and pre-married people, I would say. Pre-married. What does that even mean?
Engaged, dating, single.
Yeah. Somebody whose ultimate goal is to be married at some point, or they already are, and they want to better that marriage and try to make it more Christ-centered, which is what we keep trying to do, and we're getting better at it, I would say. But it's certainly something that can get out of whack easily. So yeah, our demographic, definitely currently married, pre-married.
Yeah, and the thought I just had is, with me working out the shop or in the field, there's things that I get to share about when I get home.
Mm-hmm.
For you, it's what's gone on during the day, which we talk, sometimes 3, 4, 5 times during the day.
Yeah, we do. On the phone. Like
on the
actual
phone
calls, not like just the text messages. That's a whole nother number.
Yeah. And, I think listening to different podcasts, especially more recently, it gives us something to converse about, to discuss. Not just about our date, but this is what I learned, and how can it apply to our marriage? What are we doing in this capacity?
Well, and this is where my heart at it is, and sometimes in areas I haven't even thought about, like, I don't know, I just listened to a podcast about confessing to your spouse, and it's kind of interesting to contemplate, because I think that's something we haven't really done too much of, I would say.
Yeah.
So it's just an area of our lives that we haven't completely delved into yet. If that says anything about our marriage. We haven't had too many disagreements about things in 5 years.
No, we haven't. And, I don't know about you, but I mean, a buddy of mine, a guy we know that I work with occasionally, is surprised that, oh, you guys don't fight? That seems weird. And we don't fight. We're not a fighting couple.
No. I've definitely been angry before.
Yes.
But it was usually about me being tired and needing help. And I didn't ask for help. I just thought, he should know that we need help. Anyway.
And I'm a dude. Enough said.
You can't do something if I don't ask.
Right.
So, gotta open your mouth.
Yeah, and guys, you'll learn, or you maybe already have learned that, through that you will be able to pick up on certain cues and be able to realize, oh, something is going on. It could be your fault. It may not even involve you whatsoever.
It's true. And
you just need to be there, whether it's to listen, a shoulder to cry on, to avoid.
Avoid, yes. If your wife is angrily cleaning the entire house, you might not want to interrupt her.
Yeah, take the kids outside or distract them.
That's what Dan's learned anyway.
Yeah, that's what I've learned. So, a little bit of introduction about ourselves, who we are, and throughout our various episodes that we'll have going forward, you'll learn a lot more about us. And that's the goal, I think, with our podcast episodes, is that we will use different stories or different situations going on in our life, or that have gone on in our life, and how God is really a part of that. And our hope with that then is that it's able to encourage you. If you're going through something similar, that you'll be able to take something away from it, and have those conversations with your spouse or loved one, similar to how we've been doing.
Yeah. That sounds good.
Yeah. So, again, I'm Dan.
I'm Bethany.
And we've been married for 5 years.
Yes.
Back in June.
We'll know each other for 6 years in September.
Yep, which we're
Super
way more
excited
about. We happen to be one of those modern couples that met on eHarmony.
Yes, we did. Hey, we are like one of like 6 or 7 couples that I know
that met on eHarmony.
Met on eHarmony.
Yeah. And, for me joining eHarmony, it was, I won't lie, I tried Christian Mingle when I lived in Indiana. Terrible website, terrible thing in my experience.
Clearly never going to sponsor this podcast.
Nope. But that is my opinion, so please don't sue me, Christian Mingle.
Yeah, anyway. So we both got on eHarmony at the same time.
Yep. And, me being the efficient person, trying to find the most efficient way of doing things, as I said, if it's not going to work in a month, it's not going to work. That might be impatient of me, but I picked the least cost-effective approach and did 1 month.
Yeah.
And it worked out for me.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I got a bonus from school because I taught at a charter school. I bought a couch because I desperately needed one. And I told my roommate I was going to get her a Christmas boyfriend because she always wanted a boyfriend for Christmas. Ha ha ha.
Very Hallmark.
Yeah, very Hallmark. Anyway, and so I was like, because I wanted to do online dating, but I didn't want to do it by myself. So I was like, you're doing this with me and I'm going to pay. It was definitely expensive to pay for 2 people to do this, but totally worth it because there was heck no way I was doing this by myself. Too scary. I am definitely not there are some areas of my life I don't do things well on my own. Anyway, that's a topic for another day. So we did it together. I met my husband.
Me.
Obviously, Dan, first. And maybe 2 weeks later, she met her husband. So it works. That one bonus brought together 2 families. So pretty cool.
With now 5 kids.
5 kids between us. Yeah.
So we met on eHarmony and moved pretty quickly with it.
Yeah. Dated for 2.5 months.
Yep.
Got engaged on December 13th. 14th? 14th because it was your half birthday.
Yep.
That's the story for another day. Got married June 22nd.
Yeah.
So we were met and married within 9 months?
Yep.
Is that 9?
And the only reason we didn't get married sooner, like in the spring or elope, is because we were both teachers at the time, and so we had to wait until school was out, which was hard. We
went through the elopement phase that every married couple, I swear, goes through. They're just like, this is too much work. Let's just elope. And we made it through that and made it to our wedding and actually got married on our chosen day at time and place and location. So,
but I want to point out, not as a way of judging other couples that do this. It's up to them, between them and God. And for us, we did not live together. Before we got married. About a month after we got engaged, she was in Grand Rapids at the time. She got a job offer in the Kalamazoo area. Where she was from and where I was working, and so she moved back home, but we had our separate living arrangements,
which was funny because we moved a bunch of my furniture into his apartment, our townhouse, whatever, and so but we got rid of his couch and moved my couch in, and
which was way better.
It was so much better. It's in storage again right now, but it was just really funny to move home but not move all of my things home and move some of them into his townhouse. But I mean, I came over 3 nights a week.
For dinner on your way home.
For dinner on my way home from school.
And then we did 2 nights at her parents' house.
Yeah. And that was just so we had equal time with not having to drive home late at night, because we would spend I mean, we spent every night together. Once I moved back, every night.
Yeah.
We ate dinner together and
worked on
school
grading
stuff
and
IEPs, all that jazz.
Watch TV.
Yeah, if we had time.
Oh,
gosh, teaching is so much work. Anyway, where are we going from there?
So, if you're picking up on it, we were both teachers in our career, but our podcast name says otherwise.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
I'll go first and
Okay.
say, I became a stay-at-home mom after our second was born for multiple reasons. First of all, cost efficiency. I was going to be working 40 plus hours a week to make, $200, $300 a month? Something like that.
I think it was...
By the time we were done with childcare, maybe $400.
It was like $400 a month we budgeted out.
Was what was left over after childcare.
Yeah.
And that just seems silly to be putting in all of that work for $400.
Yeah, and so somehow we figured it out then at that point that if she was staying home that I would have to earn like $400 extra a month.
Something like that.
And so, I mean, we did a lot of cost-cutting measures,
Yeah. Yeah. I stayed home after we had our second, and that was through a lot of prayer too. I mean, I had wanted to stay home with our first desperately, but God just didn't have it in the cards at that time, and he said, just give it a couple of years and you'll have your opportunity.
I remember we were at church during the prayer time.
Yeah.
And you told me afterwards, God said 2 years.
Yeah. Which also happened to be reason number 2 that I started staying home is that I was going to have to go back to school in order to remain being a teacher. And that was going to eat up that $400, quote unquote, that I was going to be making past childcare. So not only was I going to be teaching 40 plus hours a week, I had to start a master's program, which would then take me away from our family even more.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just seemed silly and pointless to be putting all of that work into other things and not be present with our family.
Yeah, and I know there's going to be other couples out there where you're in the midst of going like back to grad school for that, and this isn't to knock you guys. This is a decision we made for our family. We prayed through it. It was the wisdom that we had to make that decision. We don't regret it one bit.
No.
But as you would say, Beth, you do you.
Yeah, you do you, boo-boo.
So did you say what you taught?
Oh, no, I was a special ed teacher at the high school level, so my job never stopped at school. I was always doing paperwork at home, I would say, which I didn't mind doing. I got really efficient at it. I would say I was probably one of the best paperwork filler-outers at the high school. It was, I really enjoyed it. God had put me there for a reason. I have a special needs sister, and which is the reasoning behind becoming a special ed teacher. But I had always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I did theoretically go to college to get my MRS degree. Did not exit college with that degree, but did go for that and ended up with a special education certificate instead. Because I wasn't ready. Dan wasn't ready for us to meet then either.
No.
And we did happen to live in the same city at that time in our lives.
There's actually a few instances in our in like high school and college years where we were actually at the same place, an event at the same time.
Yeah.
And,
didn't meet
and
wasn't time.
I wonder if I saw you the one time in high school.
Yeah, I don't know. It's possible.
But it might just be that I see her, senior picture or pictures from high school, and can just start to place that image there, even if I didn't see you.
Yeah.
It was a band.
We can find
thing.
out when we get to when we get to heaven.
There we go.
Instant replay.
So she was a special education teacher. I went to college for chemistry, in part because I didn't know what I wanted to do but thought that chemistry was somewhat broad enough and would give me enough opportunities. Is the way I looked at it, and I actually did better in math in high school than chemistry, but I enjoyed chemistry more. And I thought, well, the math comes easy to me. I'll go for something more challenging. Now, saying that, I did get a math minor, and I think I got like A or B plus in all classes but one for math, and that was a hard semester family-wise. Some things going on. But I got my chemistry degree. I ended up going on to Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, originally for a PhD in organic chemistry. Because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And, when I was in high school, the push was you're going to go to college, math and science. So I went to college for math and science. And then in college, it was, you ever hearing thunder outside? The push was, you're going to go to grad school. There's a shortage of PhDs. You're going to do that. There wasn't really any discussion of going into industry. Taking my bachelor's degree and going to work for Amway or Perigo or even MPI. I went to a career fair and met some of those companies, but there really wasn't a push for that. And so I ended up at IU, which I'm glad I did. I have family from Indiana. My aunt went to IU. I have two uncles who went to IUPUI.
You made good lifelong
My grandma went to Butler. And a lot of my lifelong friends that I'm still in contact with are from Bloomington, or some of them were part of a church plant at the time that I moved down there. To push forward and not dwell on it, I did not get my PhD. We can talk about that more later, but I wasn't suited for it. And so I ended up with a master's in organic chemistry, and then at the time, maybe subliminally or God was doing this, but there was this draw to teaching, and I enjoyed teaching, and so I took some time to explore it and decided to pursue it. Got my teaching degree and a master's in that while I was there at IU. Taught a year in Indianapolis at a really good school. Pay was terrible. It was a parochial school, but the colleagues and the students were great, and and then I moved up to Portage. Another fun story of obedience and trusting and faith that we'll share later. We'll just say I taught 5 years in the Kalamazoo area, teaching chemistry, computers, and web design. And an opportunity arose. It sounds so kind on my part.
Yeah, very much so.
Frustrating time, but...
Do you want me to sum that up real quick?
Go ahead.
So his high school decided to take a new route with their science curriculum and needed to get rid of him. So they put together a bunch of information that they had not informed him of previously, because they said he had been problematic in some areas for years that they never mentioned to him.
And I was highly effective the previous 2 years.
Which is the highest rating you can receive.
Yep.
As a teacher. And so they decided they needed to make those curriculum changes. He needed to go. So they came up with all this information and said, you're done. And we're not going to take you on for tenure, which is typical of the school district to do. We know of multiple stories where they were like at tenure year decided not to keep a teacher. And
was forced to resign.
Yeah, essentially.
Yep. And was told, you can choose to resign or we'll terminate you. One option will give you a nice letter of recommendation, and the other, we can't say anything nice about you.
Yeah.
So I want to caution, though, is that, I guess I always have this worry that how we share that story, it's definitely got an impact on us. Personally.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to come across as, hey, this district is terrible or these people are terrible. I mean, truthfully, some of the things they brought up, yeah, I struggled in certain areas of teaching, and I think instead of
no one's perfect.
Promoting my strengths, it was just, we're going to look at where you're weak and not strong, and go from there. And so it's just a really crappy situation, and it really forced us to lean on God and not our own understanding.
It was frustrating
Yep.
to then go through the job search process over the summer, and for that not to happen. And let's not delve into all of that right now.
No, because actually next week's episode is about your journey to being a stay-at-home mom and my journey to self-employment.
Yeah.
So, we'll stop pushing on that. But
so he ended up becoming a woodworker out of, full-time out of necessity. Previously was.
Yes. So
part-time.
When we bought our house back in
2015.
Just before our first was born.
Yeah.
I was building some furniture and some things for our home and doing a lot of upcycling from the Restore,
yes,
the Habitat Restore, and figured out as I was building some things and had some interest that, hey, I might be able to make some money on this. So prayed through it, planned, met with a business teacher colleague who helped me devise a business plan. And talk some strategy, and we launched just about 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
This is a business. It was 4 years ago on the first of the month.
DSM Woodworker Art LLC.
Yeah, great name. We'll call it the vintage name for now. And so I was doing it part-time as a side hustle, and in business-wise, each year I just about doubled my sales.
It's true. Mostly during the summer.
Yeah. And I still
Not for lack of trying in the winter, though. Because you tried to pick up jobs during the winter, but they just didn't come around until summer.
Yeah, usually folks had to wait until their tax returns came.
Yeah.
But, God's been amazing since then, and I've taken on a lot of carpentry work since the fall. And as part of that push, the full legal name of the business is DSM Woodworker Art LLC. But we did a DBA last year.
Yes. For
DSM Woodwork, and that's the logo on my truck. That's the logo on my trailer. The website is dsmwoodwork.com. And most recently, we've launched a home furnishings line called Harvest & Co. So the idea there, DSM Woodwork is the carpentry side of it, and I do a lot of subcontracting for like some cabinet makers and finishing companies in town, which keeps me pretty busy. And then any of the custom builds and furniture and furnishings I take on now have a Harvest & Co. brand, which we're really excited about. Growing that here
I've
in the future.
Helped design some of the furniture pieces.
So it's a team effort.
Yeah, so far that's about all I've really contributed is design ideas. I keep trying to help in other areas, but we find apps or something that could do what I was going to be doing. Though I do keep trying to help. It's those small people that keep me away from being super helpful.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, but I have visions. I'm in the next 2 weeks I'll be moving my shop again. This will actually be my fourth shop in a year. Between the house, the back of a horse barn that I rented that was not heated.
That was miserable.
And
then now you're downtown.
Downtown Kalamazoo.
And then you'll be downtown again. Just
three blocks down the street on the same street.
Yeah. Cooler building though.
Yeah, way cooler.
It's sweet.
Landlord sold the building and bought a new one and is moving us down the street. So
it's got an old industrial feel to it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yep. So, let's see, we're almost at a half hour here, so this is about the length of the podcast that we're shooting for now. So we hope that you've enjoyed listening. Before we go, what are some of your, I'll call them hobbies, or things you like to do?
Hobbies. Oh, reading. Reading is a big one this year. I had a goal to read a book a month this year, and so far I'm reading a book every other month, which I am going to say is successful.
Better than me.
I finished several good ones. I'll have to do a review on those at some point. And I'm about 100 pages away from my next one being finished, and then I need to pick up something more hefty in thought and not just fun and enjoyable. So something that'll make me think more. Hobbies, other hobbies. I have an itch to crochet, and we're heading into soup season here soon, and I'm super excited to jump back into some more cooking. We eat paleo for lots of reasons, but I super, super love finding new recipes, making them, and then making them better. Or making them...
Super excited for making soup recipes.
I'm really good at soup. We currently live with my parents and my sister. It is a full house here. And all winter they were like, "You were so good at making soup." And I learned how to make paleo pasta this winter, and I can make a chicken noodle soup that is so good that my sister asked for it for her birthday in July. So I was in the house making hot soup in the middle of one of the hottest months of the year because it's just that tasty. Oh, I want some right now. Let's see here, what else do I do? Crochet, watch the children, read, cook. That's about all I got there. Play Sims sometimes. Yeah. Guilty pleasure there.
Yeah. For me, I'd say woodworking was a hobby.
It was previously.
Because it was part-time, and now I do it full-time, and I do a lot more carpentry work right now with like cabinets and trim and those things. And so being creative and making different charcuterie boards, fun word to say, or designing furniture. So we have a bed, a headboard, a bunk bed, a couple of like dining tables and slab tables that I've got designed, and some of it I even have the material for. Yeah. It's just setting aside that time. Mountain biking.
Yep. I wish you were participating in that more right now.
I do too.
Things are taking over your time.
Well, and financially tight to do races.
Softball was a hobby for a while.
Yeah.
Because you're on a team. I'd call that a hobby. Yeah.
Played summer softball. I think, kind of boring, I guess, right now.
You don't have extra time on your hands.
I don't. Any extra time I do have, I'm trying to work because I'm always feeling behind.
Yeah. Which is another reason why we're doing this, because it's together time.
Yes.
And we need that in our lives.
Yes, we do.
So,
if you can't tell already, part of our podcast is, we're called to create, and so we're creating something that we want to have an impact on the kingdom. We are Christians. We are believers. Mm-hmm. We do attend a Bible-believing church. And as far as ministry goes, Beth, you're part of a local MOPS, which...
Yes.
I don't know if MOPS is actual ministry, but it's kind of ministry-oriented.
It is. The purpose of MOPS is to bring moms into a church building and get them connected with the body of Christ. And so we don't necessarily preach at our MOPS meetings, but we do pray. I read a devotional, and it takes place in a church building. So that whole environment, and all of the women on the steering team are Christian women on purpose, in order to bring women who may not have Christ in their life to a place where they can meet him. So it is Christ-oriented and Christ-centered, but it is lighter in that subject area. So it's a lot of mom topics that we talk about. Anyway.
Yep. So you've got that. You've got a ladies' Bible study you do during the school year.
Yeah. I'll be homeschooling this year.
Yep. Occasionally we do a small group with some good friends of ours.
Yep.
It's like twice a year, but we would do like the Andy Stanley marriage studies or parenting studies. So it's like 4 weeks here and there.
Yeah, when it fits. Into everybody's schedule.
Yeah. And then I'm part of a men's group. Currently meet like 1 or 2 Tuesdays a month at 6 a.m. And we'll discuss this more later when we talk about discipleship, for example. That's one of the topics we want to cover. But I have a heart for just supporting other men and being supported, feeling like we belong as part of a community, having each other's backs, because life is not easy. Whether in marriage or single, the enemy is out there to get us. And, we need a body of believers that are, willing to stand up for each other and, not just accountability, but support and brotherly love. And so, there may be more coming down with that. We'll see. It's definitely been on my heart. So that's it for this week. We appreciate you guys joining in and listening. And, next week's episode is going to be a good one. We're going to dive more into, a look at where we've come from career-wise and where we're at now. Talk about best choice more so to be a stay-at-home mom, and then even possibly into like some homeschooling stuff. And I'll talk a little bit more about self-employment, some of the trials, tribulations of it, and the exhaustion, the rewarding, the positives. I mean, tonight was the first night all week that I've been home at dinner time. Granted, our family has dinner at like 5 o'clock, and most people don't stop working till 5, so
that's true.
I've had later nights before, but it was nice to be home for dinner and to join our family for family movie night.
What?
Yep. So, again, thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Talk to you guys later. Thanks again for tuning in. Be sure to check out the show notes and visit our website, or check out our Instagram @Woodworker and Wife. We're also on Facebook. Until next time.